Here to break down what we just heard and the race entirely is Tomi Lahren, who hasn't worked enough tonight, and Will Cain, who has already worked 4 hours today at least. Will, great to see you. Fox & Friends co-host Tomi Lahren does everything at any time. Tomi, what'd you think of the speech?
Honestly, I liked the fact that he not only talked about the policies, because I think we all are familiar with what a DeSantis policy agenda would be. I like the fact that he leaned into, this is how I can win. From the top, he said, listen, Miami-Dade, Hillary won that. I won it by double digits. That's an urban area. I won Hispanics. I think he was able to lay a good ground game for, hey, I know you like the other guy, but this is how I can win. I think that's what he's going to need to do in the long run to be the nominee and then maybe the president.
Well, I had nobody to hang out with my age, so I was able to watch the afternoon speech in Sioux City, and I tried to look for the moments where he separated himself from Trump. And he said, we can't focus on the past. That's a shot at Trump. We have to win. I could build the wall, shot at Trump. He also talked about the military and the law. And it's not about branding. He said it at an earlier speech, which is a subtle, and it's about the truth. Many people think that could be a shot at Trump. How's that for a tactic?
Well, listen, I think Ron DeSantis has it all, or almost it all. He has an impeccable resume. He has an impeccable track record. I think the voters can trust that he will deliver on his promises. I think that Ron DeSantis would be a very perfect choice for the Republican candidate for president in almost any year in our memory. Right. But he is up against a rock star. That's the bottom line. He's up against box office. Donald Trump absolutely commands an audience in a way that Ron DeSantis just doesn't yet. And he was nice. He was good on that stage tonight. He was not Donald Trump. If Tommy's right, and I think Tomi might be right, that the case he has to make is that I can win, he's going to have to do it face-to-face. He's not going to be able to do it with these sidebar shots you just laid out. He's going to have to get in this race, stop playing around, and the honest truth is he's going to have to start throwing punches. That's the only way this fight gets settled between DeSantis and Trump.
And we can just put up a poll, the ABC poll, and it shows Trump on top of DeSantis, 51-25. I think Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Tim Scott's going to get in on the 22nd of this month. Hutchinson is still trying to make, and Vivek Ramaswamy is somewhere in there in most polls. So Ron DeSantis so far feels as though I've taken the first frontals and I'm still a solid number 2, Tomi. Do you think Donald Trump helped himself on that town hall on Wednesday and as it relates to the GOP nomination?
We're in such a weird environment because every time they go after Trump or every time Trump gets a chance to be Trump, he galvanizes Republican support. But does he turn away independents? That's an argument to be made. So we're in a really weird place where every time they take a hit at Trump, he comes back stronger. But does that mean he can win a general? I think it means he can win a nomination. But there's such different things. I don't think we've really had a time in our history where it's been such a difference between winning the nomination and then going on to winning the White House.
Because it's moderates, undecideds, and maybe some persuadable Democrats.
Right.
So the one thing we're getting with, which is easily correctable with Ron DeSantis, is he's not personable enough. Corey Mills in the New York Times today said, after I won, I called to thank him because he helped me out and his wife helped me out. Couldn't get a return call. It hurt my feelings. I endorsed Trump. Same thing with Byron Donald. Says, yeah, I helped him win another 4 years as governor, but I'm endorsing Donald Trump. As we look at the polls, whatever you think about the distance in the nomination, they both lead Joe Biden in the latest Washington Post ABC poll by about the same amount, which brings me to Joe Biden. 36 to 38% approval, Will?
Yeah, and I think that would give me hope whether or not I was in Camp DeSantis or Camp Trump. Going into this, I think you could have been forgiven to think, well, it's crystallized, it's solidified. You're firmly in the camp of pro or anti-Trump at this point. But I'm not sure that's true. I think 2020 was about Trump. People cast their vote for or against Donald Trump. But I don't think that will be the case in 2024. Why? I think it will be a referendum on Joe Biden. You now have voters who have 3.5 years at that point of track record on Joe Biden. They'll have their opinions on COVID or the economy or the border. And it won't simply be about Donald Trump's personality. The difference between 20 and 24 is 20 is about Trump, 24 is about Biden.
So in that same poll, Joe Biden has 92% approval with black voters in 2020. It's dropped to 58. Maybe that has something to do with him saying today at Howard University at the commencement that the #1 threat in America is white supremacy, which is an insult to clear-thinking Americans and a total pandering to his audience, historical black college. Listen to what he says, because clearly he tries to expound on it and ad lib. And I read this. I haven't heard it yet, but it's almost incomprehensible. Listen.
a moment of extraordinary hope. But also as I stood there, and this is the God's truth, I couldn't help think about another day I stood there. It wasn't much more than your age. I just got out of law school. I was I'd gone to work for a big firm, but my state, because of when Dr. King was assassinated, my city parts were burned to the ground. We had a very conservative governor. He stationed the National Guard in every corner with drawn bayonets for 10 months.
What's his point there, Tommy?
I mean, it's like, where's Waldo trying to find his point?
I was in college. I went to law school, went public. I was a public person. Martin Luther King, I'm in Delaware.
And you don't know when you listen to Joe what part of it's true and what part of it's not, because we know he has a history of just making up these wild delusions of grandeur.
I'm sure he's going to be fact-corrected on CNN shortly.
Oh, I'm sure that's coming. But you can just tell, if you listen really closely, you can almost hear his staff and what I call his puppeteers every time he goes off script just clenching something, because they're so afraid of what he's going to say. And imagine putting this man on a debate stage with Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis. It would be a bloodbath, a nightmare.
You know, he said, which was not in that particular clip, but to your point, Brian, he did say that the greatest threat to our democracy is white supremacy. I feel like every time the word democracy is invoked, I want to step back one more time and say, the United States of America is not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, and that's not semantics. That's important to our foundation. So that being said, if he is pandering, well, par for the course. This is the man who said he's going to put y'all back in chains. The Republicans would put y'all back in chains. If he believes it, that's even more concerning. If he believes that white supremacy is the biggest threat to our democracy, he needs to be introduced to being the president of the United States, where you are confronted with intel that we do not know sitting here at this table about the threats of Islamic terrorism or whatever it may be. But I can assure you, number one on the list of threats to America is not white supremacy.
And people that were able to make out what he was saying leave angry. Angry at the country, angry that he believed, the President of the United States believes that it, and if you are a minority thinking the world is stacked against you, it really hurts the country, even though it's Joe Biden with 36% approval rating. Guys, great to see you. All right, thanks so much for coming over. Thanks for coming over, Will, and also going with the no tie. I appreciate that.
I said I'm doing One Nation. I don't have to wear a tie.
No tie necessary. All right, well, we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.